What's going on, guys? Spencer here. I want to talk to you guys today about how to downsize your life to maximize time freedom, why that's so important for entrepreneurship. And since it's Friday, we're gonna have a beer, and in the spirit of it, we're gonna be doing a 40. Because what better than reducing your outward expenses for lifestyle in order to move forward, right? So, in the spirit of this. Plus, every once in a while, man, you gotta fucking live a little bit. So, cheers. Okay. So, here it is. How to downsize life to maximize time freedom. The first thing I want to go into, if you guys can see, is my success with this. My first success, my earliest success when the real estate business started making money, then my failure, and how I got to the point where I'm at now. After that, I'm going to talk about, after this story, I'll talk about how lifestyle inhibits growth, how you can leverage identity in Christ to help with FOMO and image issues when you're kind of at the bottom of entrepreneurship and you're trying to get to that nice hockey stick growth. That is hopefully, right, ideal outcome. You never know, but that's kind of what you're shooting for and what you're doing this to risk it all for. And then lastly, I'll show you guys a quick tip that I used going back to cash, gangster style, to reduce non-business expenses. Okay, so I graduated high school and and the real estate business was doing well. I was making a decent amount of money. That was when I was knocking door to door. I did that for 18 months straight. And I was making good money. Like, I was making a lot of money, and, being super young and not having really that much expenses and stuff. And then you see all your friends who are like living it up and stuff. The first thing I went out and did was I bought a truck and I moved out, right? I bought a truck on finance and I moved out. The typical, like, fucking all the army guys and shit, like, all y'all do that fucking V6 Camaro shit, you know what I mean? And I did that. And then taxes roll around and I get hit with a bill that is going to wipe out my savings completely, to the point where, like, I might not have money to live off of, and I wasn't at a great point in my personal life at the same time. And so I had to use it as all right, can't do this anymore. And so I moved back in with my parents, and man, it's been difficult, but it's also, I'm 20 years old, and so, like, I've got to just leverage the ability that I have that. And so, I mean, I'm making these videos to help everyone, but if you're as young as me, man, you've got to leverage the fact that, like, there is no expectation of you being outwardly successful or whatever. And even if you're 30 plus, bro, like, you're gonna look like a loser. You just are. You're going to look like a loser to everyone else, and it's part of it. It's what, honestly, for me, I think makes it the most challenging for people to actually succeed is the image issues. And so it was really, really hard on me, like, very hard. You're out of high school and you see, like, I got buddies in the oil field and stuff, and, like, they're making really good money and they have money to spend and they've got a W-2, and so, like, it was, a paycheck job. And so there's nothing wrong with going that route, by the way. Like, I made the decisions I made, and I've got to be willing to accept those consequences. And so the huge downside of that is, like, I would make all my money on commission, and then, you also got to be super smart with it, because if you start spending too much, you have no leverage and you have no ability to move forward, right? And so that was something super hard, and man, it's gonna plague your relationships. It because at least it did for me. I don't want to just cast that out there, but it definitely did for me, because you're like in a relationship with someone, and then um, you know where you can be, and you see it, and you have the plan to get there, and you know that you've had success in it and stuff, but then you're super worried the whole time about like losing your interest, or at least I was, bro. I was like super insecure about like losing my love interest to someone that's got like a mediocre job, but they can just cash flow better than me. Um, and so it's just kind of a really tough thing. But that whole thing brought me to the learning of identity, which I have a video in that, and outcome dependence, which other video on that, and I'll go over it briefly here. You need to leverage your identity in Christ, which is just really a rock solid identity that is not measured by anything in the world. It's not measured by anything in the world, by anything material, or by anything outwardly measurable. Your identity cannot be in something like that, because that's the only way that I've found. I know that like Alex Hormozy, he doesn't believe in God and stuff, which is okay. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and get all upset, but like the guy, I don't know exactly how he got over the FOMO and image issues, but this has for me been one of the biggest and most freeing things to kind of help you with that fear of missing out and the image issues. And you'll actually find that rather quickly, man, when you just own it and you stop running from it and you stop trying to hide from the fact that like, hey, I just don't have a ton of cash right now. And like, also you also kind of have the death of the value of money to you. Like, it just stops mattering. Um, it's really interesting, because when you downsize and you get rid of all your real like worldly expenses, man, like shit just doesn't matter as much, and you can operate like how you were in high school, or at least how I was in high school, where it's like, fuck it, I'll blow through it all, like, um, and it's kind of it's a dangerous way to live, but I hope that just by continuing going down this route, and maybe not like going down the route of a drug addict, which are awkwardly similar if you really think about it, right? Like, drug addict, blow all his money on this, businessman, entrepreneur, blow all his money on this. And so it's same but different, and so like I think that's pretty interesting. But you got to leverage the identity. It'll really help get rid of the fear of missing out and the image issues that are going to come with entrepreneurship, especially in the early stages. And the real estate business is still going great. It really is. We're just, you've got to just do everything you can to keep the wheel going. And so, I've downsized my expenses so that way we can just keep pushing forward with trying new marketing and trying to expand and trying to just keep moving forward, because it's kind of like, I don't know how many people are familiar with like playing poker, but a really good analogy is playing poker. You basically, like, you have to detach your mind from the value of the chips in order to really play successfully, in my opinion, right? I'm not Phil Hellmuth, you know what I mean? But once you can kind of detach the value of the money and the chips, you can really actually just start to play. And it's more freeing, and you're more likely to go in on something and try when you're not playing so super tight. You rarely actually will win that big when you're playing so super tight. You've got to be willing to lose, and you've got to be willing to look like a loser. But that can't really hurt you if your identity's not planted in anything to do with money or anything to do with really however the fuck society measures you, man. Like, it can't hurt you that way. And that's just been super, super helpful for me, and I figured I'd try and share that. And then lastly, reducing non-business expenditures has been like crazy good for me. I have one payment that I have to make. I still have to make that truck payment. I did find someone that would help me refinance out of it, so I pay 0 interest, and that dropped my payment by a little bit. But so I'll get that dealt with quicker, and I still make enough to make it, and it's not really like a big deal for me. But yeah, so you got to get rid of everything that's not necessary and that's on payments. Almost look at it as like a fun game, man. Like I'm kind of trying to look at it as like I'm gonna spend this next year of my life in like pseudo prison, basically, where I'm just not gonna live by the rules of like the world, like by how everyone is measured nowadays, and just whatever I need to do to survive, I do to survive. I'm not really looking to make a quick dollar or try and like go earn 50 grand or anything. I just want to keep doing this as long as I can, because I feel like there's use in it. I feel like it's utilitarian, and I feel like it can help people doing it, and it is truly, I am actually, I find a lot of like motivation from within to continue doing this. The word slipped me, but I find a lot of motivation from within to continue doing this, and so that's what I feel like I have to do, and I'm willing to pay the consequences that are associated with it, financially and on the outside of the world. Maybe I'm fucking going crazy and recording it too. That's fucking a possibility. But okay, back to cash. Go back to cash, gangster style. And the way I think of that is like, you just gotta like, for me, what I do is I'll take maybe $200 out to cover my expenses, like my day-to-day stuff, like if you need a little bit of food here or there, or you just like whatever you need to do to survive kind of deal. I take that money out and I have a strict limit on it of $200, and then I get it in as big of denominations as I like, make it look as big as I can, and it just makes it feel a little bit better, because now you have this big brick with you, but it's really like $200, it doesn't really have any weight to it, but it looks big, and so like it kind of helps. It's maybe it's a weird way to cope, but it helps a little bit with the FOMO and stuff, and it's always a good feeling to just go through a wad, so yeah, guys, that's basically how I've downsized my life to maximize time freedom, right? And that's the goal, is you need to do whatever it takes to get away from having to work to sustain. It's not purposeful, right? So this might look different for a bunch of people. I don't know, maybe you were like 16 and you had a kid or something. I'm not gonna like sit here on a high horse and be like, that couldn't have been me, because it definitely could have, I don't necessarily, I would just tell you that slowly, as time allows, you have got to start finding a way to weed your way out of it, and don't go doing what a lot of people do now, and that's just like load up on payments. I had the privilege of experiencing a lot of time in different communities growing up, like at different socioeconomic levels and stuff, and the thing that I noticed was, by and large, in the lower socioeconomic level communities, there's this push to, but also, I will say this, but also in the suburbs too, there's this push to do things solely for outward appearance and for status level in terms of like societal hierarchy, right? And that's done through purchasing different assets. And I'm case in point guilty of this, so it's not me like passing on something to someone else, but the sooner you can try and free yourself from that, the better. And if you are like 18, God, I hope I can reach someone that's like 18 years old, man, because it's crazy. If you can figure this stuff out now, how far you can take it. You've got nothing but runway as long as God allows, and it's really cool. And so, yeah, guys, it's how to do it, how to downsize your life, maximize time freedom. I hope it helps. Take care. God bless.